continent and reached from the Canadian border to Mexico. Abraham Lincoln, who preserved the Union through the dark years of the Civil War, demonstrated the effectiveness of government by presidential edict in time of crisis. After the Lincoln era, the importance of the presidency was eclipsed by Congress until Grover Cleveland restored it to power. Theodore Roosevelt, who called the presidency a stewardship, was a staunch advocate of military preparedness and of a foreign policy which he called speaking softly and carrying a big stick. And Woodrow Wilson, who led the nation in its defense of democracy in the First World War, brought great international prestige to the presidency. Under Franklin D. Roosevelt, who received extraordinary powers in the fight against domestic depression and fascist enemies, the presidency became the world's most influential position. The nation's voters 4 times elected Roosevelt as chief executive, breaking the 2-term tradition, but assuring a continuity of leadership they felt necessary to cope with the grave situations here and abroad. To qualify for his office, the president must be at least 35 years of age, a natural-born American citizen, and for 14 years, a resident within the United States. The chief executive is charged by the Constitution with the faithful execution of the laws of the land. Few specific powers are delegated to the president by the Constitution, but the implied powers of the chief executive are so great that men of initiative and vigor can build the office into a position of dominance in the government. To administer the executive branch, the president functions through 9 major departments and a vast network of specialized agencies. Of prime importance is the Department of State, instrument of the president in the conduct of foreign affairs. The Secretary of State, highest-ranking officer in the president's cabinet, may negotiate treaties with other governments, subject only to ratification by the Senate. The Treasury Department, created by Congress in 1789 to manage the national finances, has grown greatly as America has changed from an agrarian to an industrial nation. Among the wide range of duties of the Secretary of the Treasury, the most familiar to Americans is his assessment and collection of taxes, resulting in more than 46 million taxpayers filing their personal income returns with the Treasury Department each year. Occupying the huge Pentagon building across the Potomac River from Washington, the Department of Defense is the mechanism through which the President carries out his constitutional function of Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. The Secretary of Defense, working with high-ranking military leaders, seeks to maintain national security. Under the Department of Defense, the nation's armed forces, the Army, Navy, and Air Force, have been welded into a unified fighting machine to protect the country from attack by any foreign powers. It is headed by the Attorney General of the United States. As its counsel, the Attorney General represents the government in all court matters and gives legal advice to the President and executive departments. Operating within the department is the famed Federal Bureau of Investigation. Popularly called G-men, agents of the FBI are responsible for enforcement of more than 300 federal laws and for safeguarding the nation's internal security. In the Post Office Department,